Appreciate everybody being here. Today is like, I guess you would call it the first day of school, where everyone is excited. Every team in the country that reports yesterday or today is undefeated. There's a lot of hopes, dreams, and also a lot of work to be done. So I appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate everything you guys do. I know getting over here from your respective places of business is not always the easiest thing, but appreciate your guys' coverage of our program, our university, obviously our young men and student athletes in our program. Just to kind of recap the summer, the phase we just came out of, really productive summer. Probably the one of the better summers that I've been a part of as far as what we were able to get accomplished with all the things involved. 80 new players, new transition, weather, adjustment as well, but really good summer. A lot of credit to Ben Ashford and his staff for the physical improvements that have been made. Tremendous job of what he's been able to do with our team in the months of basically June and July. It's been basically his program as far as the bulk of the work has been strength conditioning, mental conditioning, mental toughness building, body transformation, all the above. Cannot be more appreciative of our administration. That starts with Dr. Paul all the way down to his board and his staff, all the way to Jeremy and Sean and our administrative staff here on the athletic side for the nutrition investment that was made. A huge piece to the puzzle that often goes overlooked or unfunded. For them to be able to make that step to help our guys be fueled throughout the entire summer, a complete training table, 3 meals a day, on top of supplementing some of their pocket money to be able to go out and supply food at their homes. I know we talk about nutrition. Back when I went to college, you went to the caf for 3 meals a day, and that was kind of like, everybody gave you a pat on the back. But you do get hungry at night, so I know for myself that rummaging through the cabinets looking for a snack or looking for something to eat when you get home matters. So for us to be able not only to supply 3 quality, healthy meals a day for those guys, and to be able to supplement, a lot of our guys live in apartments, so obviously you don't have just free peanut butter laying around, so you have to be able to supply your living quarters. Ben Ashford and his staff do a phenomenal job of teaching our guys how to eat. I know it sounds very simplistic, but you can't fuel the body the right way unless you're taught how to do that. So we teach them how to grocery shop. We teach them how to, portion size, portion management, what their plate should look like, what different types of foods go into their body to produce a certain response, how to curb some habits that you may not be happy with. I have to take some of that knowledge myself and figure out how to curb some of my sweet habits. But the total transformation, it's been a total collective push. It was not just us, it was the administration, the players, listening to what we instructed them to do in order to affect their body change, which ultimately affects their movement, their skills, the ability to stay healthy. All of those things have been phenomenal. Just some overall numbers that were extremely impressive. The beauty of it is we've got about 25 players that we're able to see going into basically year 2 of Coach Ashford's program. So you can really see some true growth and development. And we brought a lot of new players in, and we don't really know what they were doing at their previous institutions, so it's a little harder to track, how far someone has really gone in a 2-month, kind of sample size. But those 25 guys that we've kind of got a year sample size on now, some of those guys look a lot different than they did when we got them here in December, and that's a credit to Ben Ashford and them for putting in the work. Plus 25% body mass index change across the whole team, which is phenomenal. Some of the O lineman body fat percentages are way below We use the NFL Combine National Average. That's supposed to be the Olympics of football. Those guys go off and train for months to change their body. So we kind of use those numbers as some road marks or guidelines. Obviously, our guys are not going to hit those numbers because that's a 4-year plus a 3 or 4 month focus, but just to kind of guide some guys. So plus 25% change across the team has been phenomenal. Over 75% of our players have hit PRs in all 3 of their major lifts, which is squat, bench, and power clean. Some guys are snatching stuff off the floor at an unbelievable rate. And then 20% of our guys are hitting PRs in 2 of those. So you talk about just the growth in a short period of time. Again, hats off to Ben Ashford and his staff. I think that's a little bit of the work that's done in the dark that no one really gets a chance to see that shows up on Saturdays. Now, we got to translate it, right? So going into fall camp, our focus is going to be to establish the foundation of discipline, what it takes to win. There is a discipline carryover from going to class, showing up on time, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way it's supposed to be done. And then there's a football piece, right? If I have a assignment, I've got to play that assignment with the right technique every time. I've got to communicate every time, right? So we got to establish that foundation now, which is carryover from what we've been kind of preaching since we've got here. We want to continue to develop the mental and physical toughness piece, and we get to put Rydell's on now. If we were running around cones, we would be competing for the national championship. I would say bet the house on Southern Miss. But running around cones is a small part of it. So now we got to translate that to the physical part. We actually have to hit people and be hit and respond from that. Improve our basic fundamentals within our schemes, right? There's always a technical piece, and then there's a tactical piece that comes with this, right? How you do your assignment is just as important of knowing what to do. So we got to start replicating that at a rapid rate. We want to continue to come together as a team. This is the next phase of it, right? So now we've added some guys 2 months ago in June to get to our team group. So we still got to continue to develop. There's a little bit of, okay, we cool, we hang out, we lift together, but you got to execute when you get out here with me. And there's some accountability that comes with that. I've been at places where guys will kick guys off the field if they don't know what they're doing. So that's the next piece of coming together as a team. How do we hold each other accountable, not only for showing up on time, going to class, doing what you're supposed to do, but your assignment and how your assignment affects the cohesion of the entire group. Big piece of what we got to start working on now, we got to develop honesty and trust amongst coaches and players. It's one thing for a coach to, hey, we trust you, players say, hey, I trust you, coach. But it's another thing for the player to go out and execute consistently. That develops the football trust that we need between each other. Not only from coaches to players, but players to coach, right? The players have to trust that what we're asking them and telling them to do, techniques, fundamental, scheme-wise, is going to benefit them and help them create value. That comes through practice and over time. We want to be able to give everybody an opportunity to contribute to the team. Everybody's got a role. You get a chance to establish your role. Now that we're actually playing football, you get a chance to enhance your role as we start to stack these days. Day 8, day 9, day 10, start stacking on each other. Maybe you started as a guy who was a rotational guy. You've shown some consistency over time. Now all of a sudden you become the guy that runs out there with the first group, and how do you handle that? So we got to start to develop that. And then ultimately we got to start developing the pride in our team and our university. For the last 7 or 8 months since we've been here, we've been a collection of guys, right? We've been from multiple schools. When we put those helmets on tomorrow afternoon, we become Southern Miss. And we got to have pride in that. We got to have pride in each other. We got to have pride in this university. In order to go out and fight the battles we're going to need to fight. We can't just go out there as 80 individuals, some from an SEC school, some from Sunbelt schools, some from other places. We got to go out there and fight for Southern Miss. And I think that as this college football culture starts to change a little bit, that's the piece we can't forget. Years ago, you went to school and the black and the gold meant something to you. We still have to establish that. It still has to mean something, that when these fans fill this stadium, that we're actually playing for them. It still has to mean something that this university is giving all of us an unbelievable opportunity, and we owe it to them to repay them with how we take advantage of that opportunity. So a lot to do in the next 30 some odd days. Really excited about the opportunity though. really excited about the group of young men. Again, we haven't hit anybody, we haven't been hit, we haven't been out in the temperature yet, we haven't been pushed in for a storm and had to go back out. So there's a lot of things that we have to go through in order to be ready to play here in the next few weeks. So with that, open up with questions.
Coach, Hunter Dawkins with Gazebo's at Super Talk. And I know you and I spoke a little bit last week in New Orleans about, the discipline. Is that your nutrition, is that the first step, toward developing discipline with the guys, at least coming through the season, and how they shop, how they do things like this, developing into a program?
Well, I think the first step in discipline is demanding it. That's the first step. And in everything, it's just as important for these guys to go to the grocery store and purchase the right stuff, come in here to our nutrition center and eat the right stuff, as it is for them to go to class on time, as it is for them to show up to meetings on time, as it is for them to be respectful in the community. I think a lot of times discipline at some places is very individual. Hey, I want you to be disciplined on the field, but I don't really care what you do as long as you pass the class. I don't care if you go on time. Well, to us, it's all encompassing. There's no switch. Either you do or you don't. You got to do what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way it's supposed to be done. And you got to do it that way all the time, because every time you're not disciplined, you're basically training the habit of undiscipline. So I think it just reinforces everything's important. The nutrition is important. And I get it. I mean, we're not talking vegetarians or people that are very disciplined in their meal. We're talking guys making better decisions with the things that you like to eat. Okay, hey, I like to go to Qdoba. Okay, just don't load it up with the cheese. You can still go to Qdoba, but moderate yourself. One of the big things that we talk to our guys about is sometimes when people talk about discipline and the nutrition factor, you think all of a sudden you got to go from not enjoying a pizza sometimes to completely eating whole grain everything, and everything's got to be fresh, and that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about making better decisions. Don't eat the whole pizza, is what we're trying to get our guys to understand. And then how do we show them how it benefits them, right? All of a sudden now we're 25% down in body fat percentage, what I mean? So now you can have a tangible result to their discipline. And the guys who were better at it were lower. The guys who were not as good at it didn't get down as far as they wanted to, and we were able to show them why.
Do y'all have that weekly checked up, or is it like?
Yeah, so our guys weigh in daily, obviously for a couple reasons, from our athletic and training staff to make sure hydration-wise guys aren't losing too much weight too fast. Our guys weigh in daily, so again, Ben Ashford can address, a lot of times they come in, on Monday or Friday and they're great. They go home for the weekend, they come back 4 pounds heavier. Well, your actions are speaking louder than your words. You say you didn't do anything, you didn't eat anything over the weekend, but you gained 4 pounds. Now, the air don't have calories in it, so something happened, right? So it's a way for us to check kind of their habits and routine, and for them to know, I gotta step on that scale every day. So I know either one, I'm doing the things that I need to do, or I have to modify what I'm doing.
Coach, good to see you again. Just introduce you again. I'm David Edelstein, sports director at WJTV in Jackson and HLT here at the CBS station.
Welcome to Hattiesburg.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. So you obviously have had a lot of recent success. Last year winning the Sun Belt with Marshall.
Before then too, I won a national championship too.
Yes.
So, but go ahead.
Well, just pointing out that one specifically, but
Won a
coming
Little
in
League
here,
championship in baseball when I was 8 too, so go ahead.
I started running my fourth grade World Series.
You know what it feels
It's in my bio.
You know what it feels like.
I
Absolutely.
know. I wish people would remember.
I do.
Coming in here, when you look at the roster, you've got some guys who chose to stay here, right? You got guys who are new recruits that came in. You have students that you brought in with you, kind of from where you were, and then you have some new transfers as well. In this age, it just seems like that is common to have this new mesh of people. What do you think is the biggest challenge to getting them to bond at this point, when you're starting something new here with all the people coming from different places? And how do you kind of make that happen, overcome that, and bring them together?
Yeah, well, first let me say that we live in America, so this is a free choice. None of these guys were hit over the head and forced to come anywhere. And I think that's the beauty of the country we live in. I think that's the beauty of the transfer portal. I think that's the beauty of where we are in college athletics. Do we need some guidelines to kind of help guide these guys? Yeah, but they have freedom, right? the biggest thing is when you have freedom of choice, that means you're choosing everything that comes involved with it. So getting guys to understand, if you come here and you're gonna play on this team, part of the program or part of the steps you need in order for you to create value for yourself is you gotta get connected. One of the biggest things that we've learned that we have to try and make sure these guys understand is how to communicate. This generation, which is probably going to be one of the best generations in the world for what they're able to do with technology, and now AI is coming in this thing, they're gonna be able to do some really awesome things. But because of that, some of the personal skills have been lost. Most of our guys communicate through text. That's how they communicate, right? It's the world they live in. So it's a little difficult to text a linebacker and say, watch the run in the game. So you have to actually teach them how to communicate. We have to teach them how to decentralize command, right? How do I communicate with you? One, to get to know you. So I have to be vulnerable enough to tell you my story, open up and talk. That means we have to spend time together. And then two, I have to learn how to communicate with you so you don't feel attacked, or you don't feel like my words are demeaning you, right? So we teach them how to do that. We spend a lot of time in the summer working on communication, getting to know each other. One of the big things that we do is we force them to spend time together outside of this building. The city of Hattiesburg is great for that because there's a lot of things to do where large groups can go and hang out. We were able to go paintball. Some guys have been to some of these compartment complex pools and hung out. We've had some barbecues at coaches' houses. So there are things that these guys can do on their own to spend time with each other. I think, again, any type of relationship you're trying to build, it's old as the day is long. You have to put time in. You can't have a relationship and be void of spending time together. So that's what we really preach. That's what we really show them. I think a lot of times it's assumed that they'll come together. It's assumed that they'll talk. One of the things we do in our locker room is we split it up to where it's white, black, white, black, white, black, offense, defense, right? Because in your locker room, that's where they're gonna spend most of their time together in a non-defensive mode, right? They're not getting ready for practice, they're not in a meeting, they're not in the classroom. The locker room, for all of us who have played sports, is like the greatest place in America. But a lot of times what happens in locker rooms is the O-line lockers are all together, so they spend time together, they laugh, they joke, they hang out. The D-line's lockers are all together, so typically your locker room is broken up by position. We try to break it up a little bit more non-traditionally, right? Racial divide, offense, defense divide, and not O-line, D-line, but O-line, DB, right? Because how many times at practice or in a weight session or even in groups on the field is the O-lineman really spending time with the DB? So we put a lot of intentional focus into that because that is probably the biggest underlying piece, right? I tell the team when we started in June, there's going to be two teams that play every game this year. There's going to be one team that plays together, they wear the same uniform, they run out of the same time. And then the other team is going to be the team that plays for each other. And the only way you can play for each other is you have to get to know each other. You got to get connected. I got to open up. I got to be able to tell you some things about me that maybe it's not the first thing I put on my IG page or on my Twitter handle. We've done a really good job of that. Different phases create different levels of connectivity. This next phase is going to be a big level of connectivity. The reality of it is they all know each other, are good players because they've run around cones together. But when you put that Rydell on and you step in between that circle of truth, which is that gridiron, you learn a lot about a person without even having to say anything. And that will help open up some lines of communication. Hey man, you do a really good job once you catch the ball, but you struggle seeing the signals. Let's watch the signal tape together. Hey man, you do a really good job when you know what to do, but when you don't know what to do, you're a little bit slow. Let's talk about communicating better. So I think there's phases that go into it. It's got to be a really intentional focus. You can't just throw these guys in the locker room and think that it's going to naturally happen. 20 years ago, it happened over the course of 4 years, right? You came in with a class, you spent 3 years together, you had to spend time together. 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology. Now these guys can go back to their room, put a headset on and play Madden with somebody in Canada. We didn't have that. They have DoorDash, so really you could go to your apartment and shut the door and never see another teammate until it's time to come to the meeting. When we went to school, you had to go order the pizza downstairs, and by the time you got back to the fourth floor, half the team had ate your pizza. That was just the reality of it, you know. And so when you were so it's changed a little bit. So we can't assume that it just naturally happens. And I think putting an intentional focus on it really helps.
Coach, this is Lynn Dyer, 247 Sports. You had some key components of your football team rehabbing during the spring. Can you speak to some of those guys and the progress they've made since then?
Yeah, this is the first time since me being a head coach where we're going to start the season with everybody fully healthy. Now, there are some guys that, you know, we got to make sure that, you know, they've done a really good job rehabbing. Aaron and our athletic staff are phenomenal. I mean, they're on them every single day about taking care of their body. That's another step. Once you add the nutrition, the strength and conditioning to strengthen the body, then you got to educate on how to take care of your body. You know, I read a deal. You know, Derrick Henry spends like $250,000 alone on just food a year. CD Lamb spends, you know, a cuckoo amount of money on just taking care of his body. A lot of times in college, guys don't know how to take care of their body. They go in the training room once they hurt, they treat it like an ER. Really, you have to treat it like a library. You got to go in there and research and rehab and stretch, come back in, research and rehab and stretch, so that you can prevent some. So we feel really good about where we are starting. Obviously, you know, there's going to be some things that happen throughout camp that we got to manage. The reality of it is that's the one thing we can't predict, you know, so we could be sitting here all excited and then we run out of the tunnel on August the 30th and we don't have some guys that's going to change, you know, our ability to play at a high level. So, but right now we're in a good spot.
Coach, as you guys, you know, work away from fall camp, who are some guys you're expecting a big camp out of, you know, guys that you saw in spring that you're really looking to progress now in fall camp?
Yeah, I think it's more units. I think, you know, I'm excited about the D-line. You know, we brought in 20 of those guys in June, you know, so a lot of those guys we haven't seen in pads yet, so that's going to be interesting. Isaiah Gibson being back healthy is going to be big for us. You know, he was a guy that was limited this spring. Him being back healthy is going to be big. I think, again, whenever you're talking about, you know, guys that you expect to have big years, you're talking about a lot of your veterans, you know, and I think, you know, Braylon continuing to take the next step. You know, this would be the third time that he's going through learning the system now, so it should be a little bit more fluid for him. You know, the O-line, you know, they're probably the one unit that was here mostly in December that went through the spring together, so now they've had a chance to gel. We added about 5 guys to that group, so it'll still be some competition in that. Our punter coming from Australia will be here Thursday. I'm interested to see. We jumped through a lot of hurdles to help him get visa clearance and all that, so he better be able to punt. But there's a lot of, when you're talking veterans, so the groups are what I'm really interested to see, because it's really about cohesion. You know, you guys are going to write about the wide receiver that catches the long touchdown. You're not going to write about the left guard who had to reset his hands and keep the guy from pressuring the quarterback. You know what I mean? So you're not going to write about the O-line cohesively sliding to pick up a blitz so we could get the ball off. You're not going to write about, you know, the D-line caging the quarterback. You'll write about the sacks, but caging the quarterback so he couldn't escape. He had to step up. He couldn't see. Now all of a sudden, we get a turnover or we get an incomplete. You know, so the cohesion of the units is probably what I'm most excited about.
Coach, Pete Fenton on 3 right. What I wanted to ask you about you as a coach, you've really been a guy that's embraced the transfer portal, and I know a lot of coaches haven't. At what point in really the development of the portal and NIL and the transfer, at what point did you say, okay, I really like this, or I decided to embrace it, whereas a lot of coaches still fighting? But you took that time, so I'm going to embrace that. What point when you were coaching did that happen?
Yeah, I think when they implement it, you in coaching you have to adapt, and the longer it takes you to adapt, the longer it's going to take you to have success. You know, there's some things no need to fight. Like we're going to pay taxes. No need fighting. We're going to pay taxes. Nobody likes it. We can sit around and talk about how it's killing college football and how, you know, it's changed the game. Or we could talk about the amount of money that we're making off TV deals now compared to what we were making 50 years ago. We could talk about the amount of suites that we've sold that completely sold out. 20 years ago, we didn't even have suites. You know, so the change has been good if you adapt. If you don't adapt, then you're gonna struggle. So I would say as soon as they made the rule, okay, this is, if they tell us August 30th we're playing with 12, awesome, we're playing with 12. There's no need fighting. You know, if they tell us on August 30th we gotta play at 9 o'clock at night, we're playing at 9 o'clock at night. And I think the quicker you're able to adapt rather than fight, now don't get me wrong, I think there's still some work we need to do to get some guardrails on it, and that's part of what we do as coaches. We figure out how to make what's been told to us the best. But as soon as it happened, we adapted. Hey, we adapted our philosophy. We looked at what ultimately we had to keep the same. You know, a lot of people say, well, coach, you're heavy in the transfer portal, but we're signing 15 to 20 high school guys a year. The issue is you just don't see those guys as quickly because of the transfer portal. It takes those guys a little bit longer to develop, hit the field. We've had to adapt our development model. We had to kind of speed up the maturation of some of those young guys to get them a role on the team quicker so that they feel like, hey, I'm progressing. But yeah, as soon as it happened, we adapted, found the best way to manage where we are. And don't get me wrong, if I'm at Georgia or Texas, I got a different type of adaptation. But we adapted at the other place and hit the ground running.
Quick follow-up to it. What did you think of the new rules where they're taking the third party out as far as NIL deals and maybe cutting out some of the going behind and somebody talking that doesn't need to be involved, and maybe does the NCAA need to come up with a clearinghouse for agents?
Yeah.
For that purpose?
Yeah, I thought about that for about 3 seconds, and then I realized I'm a head coach of a 1-11 team, and I got way bigger problems. So if somebody at the NCAA level or at Congress level can tell us how to flip the script, I will listen. But those things, there's a lot of really, really bright, intelligent people that will figure it out. And once they figure it out, they'll tell me, and then we'll adapt. You know, my opinion on those things don't help move the needle on 1-11. Because that's not something that's ultimately going to get us better today. But yeah, I thought about it for about 3 seconds, and then I was like, oh, you're head coach of a 1-11 program, you bring it back to work. So that's the reality of it. You know, obviously there's going to be change that comes. You know, I think back when Title IX came in, everyone thought that was like changing the college athletics landscape. It turned out to be one of the best things that could ever happen. You know, we now have, you know, female sports that are doing phenomenal things, just like some of the male sports. You know, so I think change is good. Adaptation is what we focus on.
Coach, what are your goals for this season in the first year? Like, what are, for you, coming in, a lot of fans obviously want to see a turnaround to immediate success with things happening so quickly, but how do you define success when you're looking at what this season can be for you guys?
Well, yeah, I want to win every game. I want to win every day. I mean, no one runs out there and says, hey guys, let's just try. Success for me is a little bit different though, because success for me is, do we improve every single day? Do we improve every single week? If you put a number on it, hey, if you win X amount of games, we could win that amount of games and not be successful. We could not win that amount of games and be successful. What do you mean, coach? Well, if, knock on wood, if 38 guys get hurt tomorrow, our success is going to look different on August the 30th than it would if everybody stays completely healthy. If we don't get to practice our normal plan because the good Lord says, hey, it's going to storm every day for 24 hours, our success is going to look different on August the 30th and throughout the season. So there are some things that are out of our control. So success for us is, are we getting better every single week? Whether we're running the best football player out there, or we're running a freshman, or we're running a guy that doesn't have the physical talent as some of the other guys, or whatever it is he improving? Are we improving as a program? Are we improving as a university? Are we improving as a fan base? Are our ticket sales continuing to go up? Or is our stadium continue to be full? Do I have to go to Jeremy and say, hey, look, man, we got to put another level on here because our fans are selling this place out at such a rate that we got to find a way to get more in? That's improvement. So that's what success looks like for me. Every week is going to be different because every week's going to be a different adversity. Every week's going to be a different challenge. So I don't have a number, hey, if we reach this number, hey, we had a successful season. I've been on teams where we've played horrible and won the game. And everybody would write, man, they won the game. And you go back and you look at the film, and we didn't play with discipline. We didn't take care of the football. We didn't tackle well. We busted assignments, but we won the game. So success for me, and I get it. Trust me, I know how I'm evaluated. Trust me. But success for me and how I relay that to the coaching staff in the weight room or the coaching staff in the locker room is that each week we go out and improve. Do we go out tomorrow and have the best first practice we've ever had? And then can we have the best first meetings we've ever had? And then Wednesday or Thursday, can we replicate that? Can we get a little bit better? And that to me is what success is. At the end of the year, you look back and you say, hey, were we able to improve every week? Yes or no? Hey, the improvement that we did make, is that what we were capable of making, or did we miss the boat? Did we not do some things or take advantage of some opportunity that we could have?
Just briefly, what can playing like a team like Mississippi State and State Rivalry like do to start off a tenure, where you guys are coming out?
Yeah, I wish we didn't play them first. They're in the best conference in the world. They're in year 2. Coach Levy's a really good coach. They're going to be much improved. I know it's easy to write or easy for Vegas to make a prediction, but you look at any team in any sport in year 2, they improve. It's just the nature of it, especially when you have good coaches. The good thing for us is it allows us to prepare with a very intentional focus. We know we're getting an SEC football team very soon. So every day matters. Every day this summer matters. Sometimes when you open up with an opponent that, the players may look at and say, hey, we should beat them, you have to kind of, push them a little bit in camp. Hopefully with the team we're opening up against, that our guys are seeing red and know we have to play a phenomenal game in order to have a chance to win. That should drive us to have phenomenal practices. From the onset, I appreciate the administration at Mississippi State, because what it's going to do for the city of Hattiesburg, what it's going to do for the state is phenomenal. And a lot of schools and states aren't taking advantage of this. I think this state and our administration, their administration, has done a phenomenal job of realizing that, hey, we can have 2 really, really good programs play each other, create economic value in an area where a lot of our fans will be able to come, their fans will be able to come, and ultimately generate some revenue in this new world that we're going to need to be able to stay alive in. So I'm very appreciative of Mississippi State doing that. I'm really appreciative of our administration for scheduling that game. Wish they'd have scheduled it number 2, but it's going to be a plus. It's going to be a plus. Obviously, we're going to battle. We're going to give them our best shot. But holistically, what that's going to do for this region, this city, is going to be at a really high rate.
Coach, Demon Mixon, Pineville Sports, when you're implementing a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, how important is it to have guys like Braylon, like Josh on defense to kind of lead the rooms who've been there before, who've seen it? How important is that in a fall camp?
Yeah, the carryover helps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of offline or behind the scenes conversations that go on with those guys, Moten with the defensive guys, Braylon with the offensive guys. Hey, what does coach want in this? What is he expecting? Hey, how do we get to this adjustment? Where did this come from? I think it carries a lot of weight, because there's sometimes it's natural where a player may not feel comfortable asking a coach a question, and he may be like, well, let me go ask Moten, and Moten may be able to answer that question. Or Moten may be able to say, no, you need to ask coach that question. So I think anytime you have familiarity with a process or a system or schemes, it helps. I think it helps our guys who are very much new to this have a different approach, because okay, if Moten's got it, okay, I feel like I can get it. If Moten's got a question on it, then maybe I have a question on it. So I think the familiarity helps.
Coach, just thinking about everybody you brought in, has there been, a couple players that made you turn your head like, oh, I didn't expect that, it was kind of, make you think you found a gem or something like that?
I'm hard to impress, because consistency is the key. If you ask me how many one-handed catches have we had out here, I'd probably say 500, but then we'll drop a hitch, so I don't get excited about the one-handed catch. If you ask me, what's really been impressive to me is to watch the body transformations. That's the whoa moment. Some guys, Corey Myrick's a guy who's a young guy who came in, transformed his body, drastically. Even some of the older guys, you know, you look at Braylon where he was in the spring, he was a little heavier. He's transformed his body. So I'm a little bit more on the consistency part. There have been some guys that have been ultra consistent. If you write their name, they'll go out there tomorrow and piss me off, so I won't get into that. But there has been some guys that have been really consistent. We got a good football team, so there's gonna be some aha, wow moments. But as a coach, you learn to fall in love with the consistency. Who can you count on? You know, we talked about that trust, you know, between players and coaches. Who can I count on to consistently execute? That's what these next 30 days is gonna answer.
Coach Scott Watkins, Biloxi's on here. Recruiting question now that 26 is front and center. You've got the Deep South High School pipeline in Florida, Georgia. How is Mississippi going to factor into that?
Yeah, I think we've got to start with Mississippi, and I think we got a little bit of an advantage because two things. One, this university has a name in this state. It's not a fly-by operation. It's got a name in this state, and two, there's really good talent in this state that loves to stay home. So we've got to create a program or a product that makes them want to stay home. And I think you go back and you look, there's been a lot of really good players that have left the state but end up coming back. We will start with Mississippi. We've got a huge jump on our 26 class. Obviously, we were a little bit behind just coming in trying to get the portal, but we've got a really good jump. Our summer camps and our spring recruiting has been really helpful. The other thing that I've been reminded of since coming back is the high school coaches in this state are really, really good. I mean, when I say good, not only X's and O's, but helping their kids through the process. Hey, you need to look at Southern Miss because from your skill set, what you can create from a value standpoint, that's a place where you can go, your family can come watch you play, and you can go on to chase your dreams at the highest level. So the high school coaches have been great, which is sometimes if the high school coach is not helping push guys or at least have guys aware of your school, it makes it tough. But I would say we have to start here. The players in this state love to stay home, which is awesome. And then obviously the high school coaches have been phenomenal in helping us remind kids that, hey, this is a really good option.
One more.
Coach Huff, when it comes to high school recruiting, does it change how you recruit high school with the transfer portal? Is maybe the high school, can you maybe develop more because of that, or is it, going to have to develop less? Did it change anything for you in the aspect of coaching?
I don't think it changed. What you really have to look at, I think a couple things. I think the high school athlete is more developed now than he was, 10 years ago, because they've got trainers and they've got weightlifting programs at all these schools, and they're more developed physically. The one thing that has changed is you have to stick to your plan. Our plan is to replace our outgoing seniors with a high school class. So if we lose 20 seniors graduated, we're going to bring in 20 high school guys. That way you keep a foundation. You don't have to go out every year and try and get 80 transfer portal guys. Now, there's going to be some times you lose 6 guys at a position, you can't fill that with 6 high school guys. But as a general philosophy, we want to keep that foundation of a high school class in, because ultimately, once you get this thing rolling, we're in a position here where we should be able to retain some of our players. Chris Jones is a perfect example. High school kid, came in, had a chance to leave, able to retain him, obviously progressing at a really high rate from a physical standpoint, should have a phenomenal year. Well, he should be in a situation where he wants to stay here. And if you can get, out of 20, if you can get 10 of those in each high school class, then you're ultimately doing what we were doing 20 years ago, where you're keeping most of your high school recruits in your program. So that's kind of our philosophy. It changes. You got to adapt, right? If all of these guys say, you know what, the heck with Coach Huff, we're going to transfer, well, then you have to change. You got to change course. But you set a plan, and you work the plan until you're forced to change. Go ahead. Yeah,
One more.
Coach, the community college system in Mississippi is one of the best in the nation. I know you've talked about high school, but as far as developing a relationship with the community college coaches, and Southern Miss has a pretty good history of having guys from there. If you don't mind giving me.
Yeah, it's really unique. So 2 ways we look at it. The player we look at as in the transfer portal line, because you're talking about a player that has some college experience, if that makes sense. So when we talk transfer portal, we count junior college players in that line. But from the junior college coach's perspective, they still get influence like a high school guy, as far as, hey, this is a good option. Hey, you need to look at Southern Miss. So I think us being in this state, we kind of get the best of both worlds. We get a more developed player, meaning he's been in a college system for a year or two, but we still get the guidance of their coach or their position coach or their head coach of the high school guy. Hey, you need to look at this. When we get transfers from the SEC schools, I mean, Lane's not telling, hey man, you should probably look at Southern Miss when the kid walks in and says, I want to transfer. You know, he's saying, okay, hey, wish you the best, you know, best of luck, whatever it is. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. You know, we get the alignment as a transfer body, meaning a college player with experience, but we still get the support from so many junior college coaches who have either played here, coached in this state, or at least remember when this place was really, really good, and they know it can create value. So we kind of get the best of both worlds.
Coach, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you guys out at practice throughout camp, and then obviously looking forward to seeing you guys August 30th to the top.
Thanks very much.
That's good.
Blake Anderson.
Yeah, these guys, good to be back. Seems like just yesterday we were talking after spring, summer's gone by pretty quickly, and you know, we're ready to get rolling. Today's that day that, you know, kind of hurry up and wait. We've report day, a lot of meetings, a lot of conversation, a lot of administrative work, but you know, we'll be on the field really, really quickly. So I'm excited about this group. I feel like you've seen a good dose of them, but there's a handful of guys that y'all haven't not had a chance to see. A couple guys come to mind. Be good to see Matt Jones and Robert Briggs. You know, we went the whole spring without those guys, and they're both healthy and ready to start camp. And it'd be good to see those guys kind of get infused with the group. We've added a handful of bodies when you consider our freshman class, and we didn't have a huge freshman class with how we handled transfers. I know Coach talked about that, but there's a chance a couple of those guys will kind of pique our interest. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But we've added probably 8 to 10 transfer bodies that we did not have in spring ball. We were pretty thin. I like the talent that we had, but we were pretty thin. We added 4 guys up front that, you know, have a chance to factor in day one, 2 tight ends that have a chance to factor in and will day one. We added another quarterback to the room to create some competition there and potentially push some guys and see how that goes, and then another wideout late. So, you know, there's some new bodies that'll be interesting to see how they get in and kind of, you know, where do they fit? Do they fit pushing the ones, pushing to get to be a one? Are they role depth players? But that's guys we didn't have in spring, and so that's exciting. Also presents a challenge. We got to get them up running and get it done pretty quickly. So, with that being said, what questions do you have about the offense?
Coach, you know, we understand how Braylon's, you know, his athletic ability and, you know, the receiving room you guys have and all. Talk to us about the offensive line, where this is, at least from your coaching perspective, from being a head coach and from being this offensive coordinator and in this system. How does this system rank up with what you have in experience with Southern Miss?
Well, hard to rank it. You know, just based off of experience being in the league and being in the Mountain West and you know, most of my career at the Group of 5. I feel like that room, the O-line room, number one, we're only going to be as good as they let us be. We can have skill all over the place, but if we can't get it to them, if we can't run the ball effectively, it makes for a really long day. People can just kind of keep things in front of you and make it really frustrating. So balance and being able to run the ball and play physically is at a premium for us, and that starts up front. I think we have built a room, albeit I don't know who those 5 guys are going to be that go out first. I don't know who 6, 7, and 8 are going to be. I think, though, we have created a room where we've got 8, 9, maybe 10 guys that we can work with to create your 5 starters and the next center to go, the next interior guy to go, the next edge guy to go. I think anybody at our level is looking to be able to do that. There's years that we haven't had that kind of depth, that kind of experience. I think we're in a position that's possible. We need to stay healthy, and some guys have to develop, but adding the 4 that we did this summer that all have played and either transferred in with at least some experience, if not even several starters at where they came from, to go with what we had in the spring, I think we had a chance to be really good up front. That's asking a lot, but good enough that we can run the ball effectively, protect the quarterback where we need to, and have depth to maybe roll or replace a guy if we have an injury, or maybe a guy's just not playing quite as good as he should. And that's not a luxury that we've had everywhere. So I'm encouraged, if that makes sense.
Blake, to Braylon, in your scheme, it looks like you're gonna ask him to probably process stuff a little more pre-snap, post-snap. And same with your receivers in that regard, like with choice stuff. And would it be fair to say that maybe ask Braylon to take a few more deep shots, than maybe he did last year? And how's he processed all that? Where's he at from spring to now?
Well, I've been pleased with him. I purposely just kind of wanted blank slate, let him be who he wanted to be, and he's done everything I've asked him to do. He's been extremely mature about the process. He spent the extra time. This is a lot. He's been through multiple coordinators, offenses. I don't even know exactly what the number is, but it's a lot. We have not dumbed it down. I've done a lot on him, and he's handled it at a really high rate. We do want to push the ball vertically. We want to spread the field, sideline to sideline, and we want to push the ball vertically. But I think the personality of this offense, and maybe it's something I think, if I was going to say that we, when I say we, me and staff that I've had along the way, I think the one thing that we've done well is figured out what the personality of our room is now, and molded the offense to be what they're good at. I don't really know what we're good at yet. I would like to push the ball vertically and play fast. I would like to put people in conflict and make them guess. I think we're capable of doing that between the O-line and what Braylon can do, both by throwing the ball and running and using his legs. And I think we put together a good group of skills. So staying healthy and guys develop, I think he's capable of running the offense as it is. I don't think I have to change it. I think we just played our strengths, and those strengths will show themselves over the next 2 to 3 weeks. But we've got some tools and some weapons that can be fun if they stay healthy and we can develop. We're not there yet, but I am excited about what that looks like.
Coach,
Hope that answered your question.
Coach, so,
You're good.
You talked about Braylon, and you bought in, especially they bought in a lot of guys from Marshall, wide receivers, running back, Braylon. How much does that play into maybe some success you guys can have sooner rather than later than other schools who are bringing guys from all over the place in? But you got guys that have already worked together, that knows how Braylon throws the ball, that knows what the ball looks like coming out of his hand, which is it takes a lot of time to kind of get that.
Yeah.
How much of that is?
Yeah, I don't know how much that plays into us offensively. Obviously, there's a handful of guys. There's a few wideouts in him, but when you look at the O-line and the other wideouts, we're still pieced together pretty good. He didn't play with the tight ends. He only played with a few of the wideouts. The running back room is new. The O-line room is new. I'm new. Terminology's new. There's a lot. So, Coach was talking about it, and every team in the country is dealing with the same thing right now, with as many new pieces as were needed, obviously, to change things and have a chance to be competitive day one. How quickly we gel is, maybe the biggest question. And then, can you stay healthy? There's a little bit of familiarity, but not as much as you would think. I think the bulk of the guys that came on the defense side of the ball, and that handful of wideouts has been good to have, and there is some comfort there. But that's kind of where it stops. After that, man, we all got to get to know each other quick. Spring was a good start, but I just told you we just added 10 more guys plus freshman group. This next 2 weeks is critical to gelling, timing, communication, finishing sentences, knowing where guys are supposed to be, and then guys being there. That's everybody's searching for the same thing.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Scott Kirk with WDAN. A little bit ago, you were talking about the personality of the guys they have in the offensive room. What would you say that personality is?
It's a very positive, competitive, upbeat group of dudes. We did not go out at one point, at any point during spring or summer, where I felt like they were dogging it, where they had to be, I talk about grabbing them by the throat kind of deal. They came competitive and ready. Some days better than others. There's no way for every day to be the same. But they've been eager to learn. They've been positive and good to work with. It's a good group of guys that are fun to be around. We've got, again, skill to have some fun. I think they like what we're doing. So I mean, in that sense, it's a good group to go to work with every day.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Jeffrey Pittman and just his
Yeah.
recruitment, how that all turned out, and just what he brings to the backfield?
Well, we saw glimpses of it in the spring. Obviously, he's an all-around back. He can play every down. He can block, he can run, he can catch. He's explosive. Change of direction is off the charts. In terms of him being here, I think Coach talked a little bit about guys that kind of want to stay in the state, want to stay at home. Clear, we got him from an opponent, across the street, and for whatever reason, I don't know why. I didn't really ask why he felt like a fresh start was important, but I'm glad he chose us. He's been everything I needed and wanted him to be. I like him as a kid, like him even better as a player, and he's proven to be a good leader day one in terms of how he handles himself. So I think the fans will enjoy watching him play, and hopefully with Briggs and Matt Jones to throw into the equation, we've got a great 1-2-3 punch, all guys that have seen reps at high levels. And to me, that you're going to need them all, and it makes a good room.
And I guess
Go ahead.
since the last time you've ran through this tunnel, you ever just kind of think to yourself like, wow, how much it's changed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything from top to bottom. The administration has done an amazing job. The town, I mean, you name it, everything looks different. I think 15, 16 years ago, there's rarely a corner that you turn around and just, kind of, man, that's awesome what they've been able to do. Hopefully we can go out and put together a product on the field and get this thing rocking like it was when I was here before. I love Saturday afternoons here, and love what the fan base brought. So, that's our goal, is try to get it going where people are excited about being in the stand.
Coach, good to see you again. David Elstein, Sports Director of WJTV, HLT, CBS here. With a lot of the moves, we were just talking with Coach Huff about what it means for guys to stay also. He specifically mentioned on the defense, Chris Jones staying as a local guy, someone who's here last year, gets to stay and can be here for a long time. For someone like John White at quarterback, he was here, and now a lot of changes happened over the past year, but he's decided to stay. Another quarterback comes in, so looking for great things there. But what does it mean to have a guy like John and his talents being here, sticking around and being part of this team?
Yeah, I think, John's one of those guys that doesn't say a lot, but is extremely steady and consistent. When we told him in the beginning that we felt like Braylon was coming, he didn't flinch, really didn't show any signs of frustration. Landry Liddy, I talked to John about just needing competition in the room, and based off what I'd seen on film, felt like Landry would give us a chance to be more competitive in the room, didn't flinch. When we came out of spring and I started talking to him about adding another guy to try to upgrade the room even more and create more competition, didn't flinch. I love that about him. He believes in himself and what he can do. He's done a great job of improving every day. He's a way different quarterback right now than he was when I got here day one, and just continues to get better. But I don't know, you don't have to ask him. I never saw any sign from him of frustration about how we were building, or even the thoughts that he might leave. Like, Coach, I'm going to stay here and prove that I can play and be the guy here. And he's competitive. He's he's antsy. He wants every opportunity, but he's also been very patient. He wants to know what he can do to get better, and then he actively works on those things. To me, that gives him a chance, and I think his opportunity will come at some point.
Blake, looks like you got some potential to have some really versatile pieces in your toolbox this year with a guy like Kyron Heath. You make him flex out and bunch. Micah Davis,
Yeah.
some of his film really jumps out at you with his ability to do some things. And Briggs, outside zone speed kind of guy. You kind of talk about those guys, and it's got to be fun for you as a play caller to be able to implement those guys.
Yeah, I'm a much better coach and better play caller when we got weapons that are get them the ball and they make things happen. I think we have the ability, again, assuming that we can develop like we should and guys stay healthy, we have the ability to put defenses in a pretty good bind. We do have speed on the outside. We've got size and length on the outside as well. We can put guys in the slot that can run by you or out quick you. We've got a good tight end room now. Kyron is a matchup nightmare for a lot of people. We can get consistency out of him. We've added a couple guys in there, so it's not all on his plate. Added 2 freshmen and 2 transfers. That room looks completely different than it did a year ago, and even different than it did in the spring. So yeah, I mean, my idea of balance is the defense not knowing where it's coming from next. You know, not so much that, you know, that it's run or pass consistently at the same level, or the ball goes to any particular guy. I mean, I literally want all of our skill guys to touch it. I want to use every inch of grass side to side and every inch of grass north and south, and every skilled guy, so that we are as unpredictable as we can possibly be. And yes, you mentioned Micah's a great addition. Kyron, what we've done at the running back room. I think any 3 of those guys can go. All this group came from Marshall at wideout, and Braylon and Chester and Smooth and those guys. They all bring different kind of fun little skill sets. Now, the hard part for me is figuring out what I want to do next and how do I get it. But it's going to create a bunch of variations of personnels and alignments and looks for a defense that, you know, I think can really benefit us. And maybe even take some pressure off of Braylon, where he doesn't feel like he's got to do it all himself. I want him to know if I get it to guys, they'll do it for me. And I think we're built to do that, hopefully at a high level.
Coach, I got a recruiting question. Since you were previous experience here, how many relationships do you still have with your high school football coaches? And have you reached out to, because I know every assistant coach has to do a certain amount of recruiting, at least from that platform. Just talk to me about that.
Well, not even just my time here, but really just if you consider my career, with the exception of Utah State. I mean, all my time's been here in the South, and whether I was head coach at one place or an assistant at another, we were in the state of Mississippi, we were in Louisiana, we were in Alabama. So it's crazy how many guys crossing paths with that are long, you know, past relationships. And I've been super surprised and excited how many players, guys have played here that are now coaching in the area. So we're utilizing those. Barney Fair has been a huge addition. Barney knows where everybody is, and everybody knows Barney, and probably has about 10 stories to go along with it. I think that's a big piece. It's comfortable. It's fun to get back get back home, and that's I feel like being in the South, from Texas to Florida and everywhere in between is kind of home. That's where it feels good to me. So I love that aspect of recruiting, and you feel like you're getting good information from people you can trust when you call them, and that's how you find good players, maybe even guys that other people aren't really all that sure about or don't even know that well. So it's been good.
Coach.
Yes, sir.
A long time ago, Arkansas State obviously went through a period of, one coach this year, one coach the next year, one coach the next year. You came along. Between you and Butch Jones, that's now the most stable job in the conference. My question is there anything that you learned, especially in those early years, about stability that you've been able to carry over to this very fluid offseason?
You know, stability is a strange word in today's climate, because you got massive turnovers on rosters, whether you have a new head coach or don't. I think the continuity of staff, from AD to head coach through staff strength, I think there's something to be said for that, and it does create an opportunity for when you do add some new players from the outside, everything else is stable, and it's a comforting factor, and you see some improvements there and some consistency there. It's really hard though. The world is built at this point, college football necessarily, for things to happen quickly, for there to be a lot of turnover, and you just kind of have to kind of live with it and find a way to maximize it when you get it. The team that's going to raise trophies at the end of the year are the people that handle change the best, that put these rosters together on the fly, some staffs together on the fly, and they set their egos on the table and found a way to all come together. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Consistency is different than it's ever been, probably, in this profession.
Going over the offseason, you guys brought in a lineman from Utah State. I'm trying to say his name.
Yeah, Maui.
Yeah, no, I was trying to get his name right. But just how we kind of seen him grow, and especially now through the spring, and Coach was talking about 25% uptick in BMI, but just technicality-wise, what do you think he's going to bring to that line for you guys, and how does he grow?
The best thing he brings to the line is just a violent, very competitive, physical demeanor. I mean, that's who he is to the core. you get out there and you start pulling tug of war or tires, I mean, nobody wants to go up against him. And he earned the respect of everybody on both sides of the ball real quickly about how competitive, how physical, how violent he is. He did a great job for me at Utah State. I was, super proud that he chose to come here and be a part of what we're doing. He's made an immediate impact out there. He loves ball, just kind of wants to quietly go out and just do his job at a really high level every day. And for him to come as far away from home as he did, really not knowing anybody but myself and a couple of the young guys that came from Utah State meant a lot. And I love coaching. He's one of my favorite dudes to be around every day. And I think our team respects what he brings to the table, which is a physical, nasty presence. And we've got to do that. We talked about the very first question about running the ball. How good is that O-line going to be? He's a big part of that, big piece of that as a leader and as an every down player for us.
How do you say his name?
Alo Maui. We just call him Maui, man. Nobody tries to.
All right, I just wanted to.
Hey, that's one of the easy ones, man. That's one of the easy ones.
Okay.
So, what you got?
You're here with Fedora.
Yeah.
Y'all had a lot of success, man. And now you're back, and there's been a lot of water under the bridge. You've been different places. For people that known you for a long time here, what is the one thing that you can say that you have grown from the most since your first time here as a coach and as a man? What are the differences in Blake Anderson, the coach?
Wow. I don't know if we got long enough time for that answer. Number one, I'm the oldest dude in the room now. I was one of the younger ones when I was here before. I was looking at when everybody graduated, and there's none of them close. So, I don't know, 10 years as a head coach and seeing it from a 10,000-foot view. A lot of the personal adversity I've gone through off the field and losses. Just the appreciation and the gratitude for what we get to do every day. I talked to the staff this morning. I'll talk to the offensive players today. Man, we get to do this. We don't have to do it. This isn't we have to go to practice or we have to go to meetings or we got to go run or we got to go what. Man, we get to do this. This is a blessing. And so I'd like to think that along the way, through all those bumps and bruises and a lot of fun times and raised some trophies and seen guys graduate and get married and have kids and all that just a true solid appreciation for what God's granted me with and the opportunity to influence young kids, and whether it be through victories or losses. And we've had a bunch of those. So I came back here because of that experience of being here with Larry and what the community gave to us. And I don't think I would have come back if it had not been such an amazing 4 years and so many great relationships built and memories. I don't know that I would have been in the frame of mind to do that, but it was super easy because I remember that time so well and how much I enjoyed that part of my career. And so that's really what brought me back. It's people and relationships, and that's what we're doing. We just get to do football around it.
Blake, is it weird that the last time you wore that shirt, you had a senior quarterback, you had to wait 4 years for his development? That year turned out pretty good. Now you're handed a 4-year guy that's a champion. Has it been kind of a full circle moment to think about the time with AD and what you had to wait on, and then now you're given the goods, right?
Yeah. I love that experience of watching AD grow for 4 years. He may not have liked it as much. Don't ask him. Nobody asked for a quote from him, by the way. That's so rare now. It's so rare. I hope I get to continue to do that in the quarterback room, but guys' patience level and guys coming and going. So I'm catching Braylon at a different point. Now, it's been a lot of fun, but it's different. It's sped up. I spent 4 years every day in the room with Austin. I've spent 4 months in the room with Braylon, and I got to try to get the same result. So, everything's fast forward. And you've got to do a great job of maximizing every little opportunity because you're not getting 4 years. You're getting 4 months, and then we got to go out and get it done. So, now I'm no different than anybody else. This is happening all over the country, so it's not like I'm the only guy dealing with that. But it's unique what we're dealing with 15 years later. But that was fun, and hopefully we can have some similar results. Anything else?
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
In terms of play calling, over the past 15 years, how much would you say has changed since you come back and then you've had
Yeah, and fortunately, I guess I'm fortunate that a good bit of that time I was calling plays. I am looking forward to going up top and seeing it from the view, from above view. It is challenging as a head coach to call plays and see it from the ground with all the things that's going on. So I look forward to that. But you know, we've kind of tweaked and played with the offense along the way to try to stay relevant, stay a little bit different. We didn't just want to stay in one spot, and because I feel like defensive coordinators are too good. I'd like to think that all those reps under my belt are going to be helpful in some point. I'm only as good a play caller as I am players, so recruiting is where it started. I like the group we've put together. I'm excited about going out and being able to create problems for people, but I'm going to call some good ones. I'm going to call some bad ones. I've never called a game where I left thinking, every one of them was right. There'll be a couple I want back, but man, if we play with great effort and our guys buy into this thing, we'll overcome some of those bad plays and we'll be fun to watch. I feel like we're going to be a lot of fun to watch. I really do. I feel like we're going to be exciting, fast-paced, fun to watch, and then from there, we'll build on that and see what that looks like. I think it's going to be a good product for everybody to enjoy.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Blake.
Started off with some questions. I'm ready. Fire away.
Coach, in the spring, you had some key components rehabbing. Really, your D-line's going to look a lot different tomorrow than probably it did at the end of spring in March. Kind of speak to the new guys that are, be implemented back into that D-line rotation.
Sure. So, some of our more talented guys are coming back. Guys that I'm really excited to watch play. There's guys that have been through a lot that I have a relationship with. Gibby being one of them. He's one of our better players. At Marshall, the kid's been through a lot with a serious injury. He has lots of potential, and he has the ability to play this game at the next level. And I've watched him from a distance just pour his heart and soul out into getting back. So I'm really excited for that to pay off for him. Mentally, people that haven't played the game, they don't really understand that it's such a strong part of your identity and who you are, and when you're fighting every day from a mental standpoint to get back from that, how hard that is mentally for a young man. And he's put in the work. He's suffered well through the process, and now it's time for him to cash in all those chips. So we're really excited to have him back for camp. He's one. Jabari is a guy who was with us at Marshall as well, who had one of our better players, but had injury issues during the season that he was fighting through. So he was never 100% for us. Very, very talented. He's back healthy, moving really, really well. He's another guy that has fought through a lot. So we're excited to have him back and see what he's going to bring to us in camp. I know what he brings from a leadership standpoint and from an athleticism standpoint, so that piece is huge for us as well. Guys like Broderius were very limited in the fall up front. We all know what he can do as a dude that's returning. That was one of the better players in the league last year, but he was limited as well in spring. Some of that was calculated because we needed to evaluate guys that we needed to find out who can play and who couldn't, stuff like that. So now there's a lot of guys that are back to your point. Now the emphasis is getting those guys to play together. You can put a bunch of talent out on the field, but that doesn't make you a good defense. We gotta get them to play with cohesion and be on the same page and fight for each other on college football Saturdays. That's what camp's all about. It's my favorite time of the year. Besides calling plays on game day, I love camp. It's a time for those guys to forge the bonds and the relationships that are going to be required to go win on Saturday. So we're excited to start that process beyond just the X's and O's and stuff.
Scott Kirk, Liberty on Hattiesburg, just talked about the cohesion there. Tell me a little bit what you kind of figured out about the group you have right now.
We've figured out a lot from a schematic standpoint, what we're going to be able to do, what the install is going to look like. what the schematic X's and O's are, what our depth is probably gonna be. It's allowed us to narrow in our focus on what we're gonna install and when, and kind of what packages and what our base defense is gonna look like and things like that. So from the football X's and O's standpoint, we got a pretty good idea of who we're gonna be during the season. Now it just comes down to who's gonna be dependable, which guys are gonna be above the line, growing a unit that's gonna execute consistently together. So that comes down to communication and practice, and growing their tools in terms of just fundamental football and things like that. But a lot of it was an evaluation standpoint. Who can help us? Who can't? What pieces do we need? How do we need to move those pieces in terms of the X's and the O's? So we feel good about that piece. Now the other piece is the hard part. The part that matters is finding out who's going to be dependable, and then, like I said, fostering a group that's going to be cohesive on Saturday.
Coach, historically, Southern Miss has had an unbelievable, defensive level squad. And a lot of guys, have pursued the professional level. Gillies Thomas, Michael Bolden, Patrick Surtain, guys like that. If any of those guys come back, just to, see you guys practice, at least I know you haven't really started the practice routine yet, but just be involved with the players or anything like that?
We've had a couple returning players pop in and out. Obviously, Brett Favre is the guy that has spent some time in depth with the staff, talking about what Southern Miss football should be and could be, and what it was. But from a defensive standpoint, a lot of those guys have not been back. But Coach Huff, that's a head coach thing, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I know that Coach Huff has spent a lot of time with previous players, and in a staff setting, he is told us what. Because every environment's new, every place is new, every program's new, every program has a different history and what makes a program special and all those kind of things. And Coach Huff has done a great job of communicating what he expects and what the people that have come through here expect, and what makes this place special. So that's something that Coach Huff spends a lot of time doing.
Okay. Ask you, a lot of this about Chris Jones. Can I ask you about Michael Montgomery? I went back and looked, and you talk about a guy who was recruited for Oregon. I think messed up his leg, ended up at Portland State. But can you talk a little bit about him and what you saw at Portland State that said, okay, he's fully recovered, he can come back here, and just his ability to play and what type of linebacker he could be for you guys?
Sure. It's the new era of college football. So Mike and I have had a long relationship. I've known him for a while now. When I was the linebacker coach at Georgia Tech, I was recruiting him heavily during that whole thing. So he's a kid that used to be in the Atlanta area. That's when we started recruiting him heavy at Georgia Tech, and then he went back to the West Coast, and that's where he picked up the USCs and all the Washingtons and all that kind of stuff in the recruiting process. So I started a relationship with Mike a long time ago, so I knew what kind of player he was when he went to Portland State. So he was a kid that I've always kept in touch with and had my eye on and things like that. I knew what kind of player he was. I evaluated him as a high school player long before he played at Portland State. So I kind of knew what I was getting from a talent standpoint and a measurable size standpoint and all those things. But more importantly, especially in the era of the transfer portal, where you don't have an extended period of time to get to know the intangibles of a young man in the recruiting process like you do with a high school kid. I knew who Mike was. You know what I mean? That's more important than all the physical attributes he brings, which is really good. That's why he was recruited by a bunch of people, right? But I know who Mike is as a man and what he brings to our football team in terms of the intangibles that we need out of a Mike linebacker.
How do you feel about your defensive line?
Most depth that we had in a long time. We We worked pretty tirelessly to get our numbers up and build depth at that position. I feel really good about it right now from a depth standpoint. A lot of the faces are new. They don't have cumulative reps with the tactics that we ask guys to play with. So we have a lot of work to do in camp in terms of fundamentals and technique. But from a numbers and talent standpoint, we're in a really good spot. So it comes down to, it takes a lot to consistently win. It comes down to culture. It comes down to staying healthy. It comes down to all those kind of things. So we like where we're at from a depth standpoint. Now we just got to keep guys healthy. We got to train them to do the things that we're going to ask them to do within the defense. So I feel good about it.
Quick follow-up.
Yeah.
The adjustment of rules that I've recently seen by one of the officiating crews at the Sun Belt and the SEC meeting days, defensive line are not allowed to shift anymore. Is that correct?
I've heard conflicting things. I would be surprised if that ends up being a hard and fast rule, but if that is, then we'll suffer well. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's a big disadvantage for us if that's something that we cannot do. But the game is trending towards offense and scoring points, so it is what it is. If that's the case, then we'll do whatever we can from a schematic X's and O's standpoint to try to be as competitive as we can be.
Coaching your scheme last year, obviously Green was so big for you guys. Great athlete, but probably even more intelligent, a technician, primary, secondary moves, really good stuff. Is there anybody on this roster that has some of those traits that y'all feel that maybe can fill some of that void of productivity that he gave y'all last year with TFL and SAC?
Sure. He was a special player. You don't coach guys like him every year. From a talent standpoint, Jabari, both those guys are really athletic and they're long. What made Mike different was his mentality and his work ethic. And he's cerebral, he's intelligent, you know what I mean? To get drafted that high and get paid lots of money to play the game, it takes everything. It takes measurables and talent and intangibles, and you got to be the total package if somebody's going to pay you that much money to play football. From a talent standpoint, I feel good about those two guys in terms of their athleticism and things like that. A guy that can really rush the passer that we're going to give some opportunities to this year is J.J. Hawkins. He was kind of a rotational defensive end for us, but this spring, with Jabari's limited reps and things like that, he really showed that he can be a dynamic pass rusher. We had lots of success the last couple of years at Marshall, being one of the better third down defenses in the country. Most people are gonna cut on the film and say, well, if you can generate pass rush with 4 down and play coverage and sack the quarterback rushing 4, you're gonna be pretty damn good on third down. Can we do that this year? I don't know. You know what I mean? Guys are gonna have to go prove that on College Football Saturday. They're gonna have to progress that way through camp. Obviously, everybody in America would do it if they could do it. When you cut on NFL film, there's not a lot of blitz your way off the field in the NFL. They pay the defensive ends lots of money to rush the passer. Because of that, it allows you to be really multiple in your coverage in the back end and things like that. That's who we want to be. Every defensive coordinator in the country would want to be that if they could. We'll have a plan to do both. We'll see how effective we are pass rushing and how those guys' skills come along and how productive they are in games. And then we'll go from there in terms of how effective we're going to be on third down, or if we have to blitz our way off the field and do things like that to attack protections. It's all about what your players can and can't do.
Coach, nice to meet you. I'm David Elstein, Sports Director at WJTV and WHLT, the CBS stations here in Jackson. What does a guy like Chris Jones stood out to you with so far, and what does he mean to the program for sticking around? He was a guy that was at Sun Belt Media Days, a guy that's representative of the team. So what do you just see from him, especially being a local guy who chose to stay here from 1 year to the next and change?
Sure. Outside of the athleticism and the measurable talent, that's really important to Chris, you know? He wants to win in the worst way. and his work ethic is reflecting that so far. When it matters a lot to you, and you have very strong work ethic, naturally what happens is it gives you influence within the team, and that's what he's bringing to the table right now. His intangible qualities are tremendous, in my opinion. I've coached some really good linebackers. That's what always makes a good linebacker. It's not just physical talent. It's your work ethic, and it's your ability to spend time learning the game of football and knowing what's going on the field schematically. He's come a long way since I first walked in the door here. So he's excited about putting his work out there on the field and being dependable for his teammates and getting production and creating value for himself, but more importantly, helping us win a lot of games. That's what Chris brings to the table. When I look at him in a group of 100 dudes in the locker room, I don't know if there's anybody that cares more and wants to win more than him.
Coach, what's kind of the personality of your defensive scheme, and over the next 30 days, how do you want those guys to really embody that to get ready for this stage?
That's up to the players. I tell my guys all the time, you're never going to be in life what other people want you to be. You're going to be what you want to be. Do I have a vision? Yeah, it's probably the same vision that every defensive coordinator in America comes up here and gives talking points about being aggressive and violent and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, it's going to be up to the dudes on our side of the ball. We're going to coach them hard. We're going to ask them to do a lot of the things that everybody else in America is asking their guys to do, but that my vision is irrelevant. I think the job of a coach is to develop your players and give them the skills and the tools to be able to do it. So I'm going to do that as a coach. I'm going to ask them to communicate and buy in and learn schematic football and hold each other accountable to the standards of the defense and play fast and violent and all those things. But at the end of the day, every individual man needs to make that decision for themselves in terms of the collective identity of the unit. So going back earlier to my earlier point, that's what camp is all about. You know what I mean? They got to fight for that every day when it's 100 degrees outside and it's really humid and all those kind of things. Those are the days that matter. Those are the days where those guys are going to have to make a conscious choice. If we go out there and we're worried about how hot it is and how tired we are and how sore we are and things like that, and we let the circumstances that we're in determine what kind of defense we're going to be that day, that's who we'll be. We'll be a defense that plays hard when we have the lead and one that lets go of the rope when we don't. It's up to the players at the end of the day. I'll do everything that I can, and we have an elite head coach that does a great job of developing identity and mindset and mentality and all those kind of things. So we're going to go fight for it. I'm pretty excited about it.
Coach, bit of a technical question. You're 4-2-5, you're front four. What are you looking for physically and skill-wise at each one of those positions, and is there a design subgroup for it?
The 4-2-5 only works if you have a nickel. So it's the hardest position for us to recruit. It's the hardest position for us to find. We have a really good one in Ian Foster. The nickel he's what makes your defense multiple. He has to be able to blitz. He has to be able to cover man-to-man. He has to be able to play vision zone. He has to be able to play a half. He has to be able to do all the pieces of the defense that everybody else is asked to do. Cover like a DB, cover like a safety, fit the run like a linebacker. He has to be able to do all those things. That's kind of what makes the 4-2-5 work. That's the difference in a 4-2-5 and a 4-3 structure. Also, the piece that kind of makes it work is your boundary defensive end, Jabari. So when we play 4-down, 4-2-5 structure, but we have some 3-4 principles. So in order to do that, you have to have a dude that can play true defensive end, hand in the ground, defensive end, and a dude that can do outside linebacker things. So those are the two swing pieces that really have to be adjustable, and they have to do multiple things to allow your defense to be multiple. In terms of the linebacker position, the will linebacker plays in space more, so Chris is gonna, guys like Chris and all the guys that play will, Harper and Sledge and guys like that are gonna be more athletic and they're gonna be more space players because they're most of the time gonna be in those positions. Bigger guys like Mike and Haygood and guys like that are bigger. They're gonna be more core run fit guys. So from a body type perspective, that's kind of what you're looking for at Mike and Will. The corners are the corners. It's college football. You have to be long, fast, really athletic, right? That is what it is at that position. For us, we're split field safety. We play quarters mechanics. We play cover three. We play man. We do a lot of different things, right? So your safeties are pretty interchangeable. You're just looking for really good movement patterns, and the safeties have to be communicators, right? So for us, all of those guys, they have athleticism, but if you can't call coverage mechanics and get us lined up in the back end, you're probably not going to play. So that's all about being really cerebral, right?
Time for one more.
Coach, y'all added a new D-line coach after spring. Can you kind of introduce us to him a little bit, what you know about him?
Yeah, Coach Mathis is, he's phenomenal. He's an experienced defensive line coach. We ask our defensive line to do a lot. We do a lot of mechanics up front. He's an experienced guy that's coached in every defensive scheme you could possibly have. He's a guy that blends into the staff really well. He's a good recruiter. The players like him. He has a solid teaching progression because he's experienced. There's nothing that I've presented to him that he can't coach. So from an experience standpoint, I've coached all the positions on defense, but I've limited experience coaching the defensive line. So it's good for me as a coordinator to have a guy that has coached lots of football. So we can have those conversations about how we want to play blocks and what we want to call terminology, so we can all be on the same page, because it all ties together at the end of the day. So we're really excited about what the knowledge that he brings. How he coaches in terms of being energetic and things like that is also a big thing for me. He gets after it on the grass. So I feel like it's a home run hire from Coach Huff. I really do. I'm really excited to work with him.
Coach, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Coach.
Thank you, guys.
I guess to open up, excited to get going here and really a little over a month to get the guys out on the field right here. Primetime television for, I think these guys worked all summer for this opportunity. They've worked their rear ends off with Coach B.A. They've stayed true to their goals they've set. Excited to get going, excited to see these guys put what they've worked so hard into out on the field for y'all to see.
Coach, how excited are you to get your punter pretty soon on Thursday?
Well, I got a couple punters, all right? So you guys out there think we didn't have a punter, all right? I'll let you guys try to figure the rest out. I don't know if he can kick yet, and we'll see when he gets here, and maybe he's already here. I don't know. I'll let you guys figure that one out, though.
So historically, Southern Miss has been known for having some pretty good quality special teams. Ray Guy is one of the best players, obviously, in the history of the game. Talk to me about what's your stress on special teams and how that makes a difference in the game.
Yeah, I think everybody said, obviously this place is an unbelievable history. One of the things that really stuck out is I'm not from the South, but I damn sure knew about Ray Guy, and I knew about this university and this town, and when Coach Huff called though that tradition here, right, I won't say makes your job easier, but it sets you up for the opportunity to recruit high-level players, right? Like, I don't think you can settle because you're at a quote-unquote G5 school for lesser talent. I think you go attack the best talent and the best fit. And I think that leads you to the opportunity to bring in good players that may or may not be here yet, but also allows you, and I think having Coach Huff with his background in special teams, understanding the impact that a single play can have in a game or the momentum of a game, just enables me, I won't say ease, but enables me a platform to preach to these players, this team, these coaches, this university that yes, special teams is a pivotal part of this game, just like the ability to manage the game. So If we can have an impact, we're going to, and we're going to work to impact every single, snap that we're out there.
When you go set up, for special teams after, middle of camp, however, whatever you do it, are there any players, obviously quarterback, but are there any players, starters that are off limits that you don't want to put out there? Maybe cornerbacks, I don't know, safeties, wide receivers, are there guys that you're saying, we will not put on special teams? Or are you, we're gonna put our best foot forward, it doesn't matter who it is?
Absolutely. So depending on where you go, you'll get a whole bunch of different answers on this one, right? You obviously want to protect the best players, right? And in order to protect the best players, you have to have really quality guys that surround them. And at the end of the day, the reason that football is such a great sport is because you need all 11 on the field to be operating. And it doesn't matter whether it's offense, defense, special teams, if it's a sideline management, whatever it is, you need to be coordinated, from the top down to make sure that you're using and putting guys in the best position. So, I've always thought this is special teams is a unique way to, number one, build relationships with every single guy on the team, right? So, I would say other than Coach Huff, I get the opportunity to address the team, and other than our head strength coach, probably at the top end, talk to the entire team almost as much as anybody, if not more than most people in this organization. So, the fact that Coach trusts me with the messaging and the schematics and all of those things of that, I would say no, there's not a single individual on this team that's off limits from playing special teams. That includes, the starting quarterback, and I'll let you guys decipher what that means, right? But I will tell you is Coach Huff is providing and has established the grounds and the blueprint to win. We will follow that. We will adapt, adjust, develop, and ensure that we put players in the position to max out their capabilities to make plays, and also, right, do it in an intelligent way where we don't wear guys out. So in November or the first week of December, you're hurting and you're trying to bandage things together, right? I've always, I think Morgan Wallen said it best one time. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, right? You don't want to be doing that late in the season. You want to be built to last. You want to have, you want to be built tough, right? So shout out to Ford. So.
Coach, you got some proven dangerous return specialists at your disposal. You kind of speak to those guys and, some of the dynamic things they bring to the return game.
Yeah, each one of them, it's crazy. Once you spend time with guys, you understand their personality, you understand kind of how they think, right? And then you also see them both offensive, defensively, and then special teams, and you're just like, wow, like it's kind of nice. Like I got 4 kids, they're all young, and when my wife gets out the box of colored pencils, they're like, wow, new shiny toy. What am I gonna? All right, I'm gonna start with blue, then I'm gonna go to yellow, then I'm gonna go, and to me, I sit back and I'm like, man, like this is great. I got a whole bunch of guys that can be electric with the ball in their hands to make plays. How am I going to use them? And really, in reality, how are we gonna? Like, I'm gonna have to find ways to get them all the ball, and that's a good problem to have, And thankfully, Coach is going to help us out, and I think we'll be set up to put those guys based on what phase in the right position to carry the rock.
Coach, since you have spent so much time with the guys in different ways, what kind of sense are you getting from this team? Just how they're connected and just kind of how they're getting mentality together,
Yeah, number one, they're a tough group of guys, right? That's everything from the off-season program with BA to how we coach them, right? Like, my background's kind of old school. I think you guys may know that or not. But like, Greg Madison's like the OG like coach in my head, like one of my biggest mentors. And on that, like, we had a conversation with this whole portal thing opened up, and it's like, how do you coach guys now? Like, he retired, right? So he's playing golf right now. He's all fired up about that. And we have these conversations all the time. And he goes, how do you coach? Like, how are you going to coach a guy and rip somebody's rear end and not be afraid that they're going to leave? Well, who cares, right? Like, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to these players. Like, to me, if you have a good, solid relationship, right? Like my wife and I love her to death, right? We don't agree on everything, right? And that's life. But we have such a strong foundation, and you have such a strong foundation with these players when you spend time and invest into them, not money, but time, because we don't get time back, right? When you invest your time into somebody and they know you care, they'll do just about anything, right? And it's the same on the other end, right? If one of my guys, anybody on this team called me at 2 a.m. to come pick them up they got a flat tire, whatever, I'll be there, right? Like, it's a relationship you form that says, hey, these guys are going to go, balls to the wall for you. They're going to go max effort. And you have the faith, the confidence, and all that does is create, a sense of knowing that your boy's always going to be there for you, or a coach, a player, a support staff member, everybody from Aaron, our trainer, to BA, to our equipment, So it's the development of trust there,
Coach, I'll bring it back up. You spend a lot of time dotting a lot of I's, crossing a lot of T's. Once working to get the visa, Reed says you were the lead on all of that. But both you and Coach Huff have now said that you don't even know if you can kick. So what brought about all that effort?
So I pursue, I go back to this, right? And like in college coaching, you pursue certain opportunities and things, and like, all right, well, you go GA and you live and you get a mattress on the floor and you got no car and you're getting paid nothing and you're working a stupid amount of hours. Why'd you do that, right? Like, you get a passion for things, right? So to me, I have a passion for developing players. I have multiple, like, when you go out recruiting, right? Like, people don't like people that aren't nice or develop relationships. So like, going back, like, you have to develop relationships. If not, you can't recruit. Like, it doesn't matter. So in the process of that, I've been in contact with, hundreds of people across, the country in high schools, and across the world. I've recruited guys from Japan, the United Kingdom, all the way to Australia, and the effort to go through the visa process. And, there's things that you figure out on the way and you kind of push forward, but there's certain things you control that you can't control, and all you can do is push it to the absolute edge and wait for the higher authorities to make their call and process their paperwork and stuff like that. But to me, you based on the relationships and the trust that you have in people, and then the evaluation that you make, whether that be via phones, FaceTime, conversations, I can promise you that any person that we're recruiting, or they're getting vetted. Like, we know, I mean, you can type into AI. I sat next to a CEO of a tech firm the other day on a plane, and he pulled up AI and he just typed my name in and he said, hey, this is all you. And he had my told him life story, right? So like, I can type your name in right now and I can have everything about you that's been online, right? So today's day and age, and being a younger coach in this game, is use it to your advantage and go ahead and solve these problems fast, quick, and sometimes you get some hurdles to go over. And I think Jocko once said is good, right? Good. I'm glad it's 115 degrees out here on opening day, but good. Not a lot of people are going to survive that. So,
Coach, in terms of back to your specialists,
yeah,
snappers, kickers, punters.
Yep.
Can you talk about the importance of developing who's going to start, depth, and are you comfortable with who can do what in those scenarios? I mean,
yeah,
key components.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got an idea as a coach what the depth chart is going to kind of look like, and then you apply pressure, right? I think we have a phenomenal group. We had two that stayed with us after the spring. Two guys, Andrew Tate and Caden Morgan. They stayed with us, and then I was able to go out and build that room around really my vision and what we envision for special teams here. Selfless guys that are going to set the tone, that are going to play hard, gritty guys, blue collar. I don't want any prima donnas, right? Like, last thing you need is a kicker upset on the sideline because he didn't get to kick the ball off or something, right? Like, no, go get a popcorn, bro. Like, you need selfless guys, and we got a room of selfless guys, and they love to compete. And to me, it's my job, my responsibility to create that environment where you get 2 or 3 snappers, and okay, you're going out today, right? You're going out today, right? I always like it doesn't matter, right? Keep them on their toes. doesn't matter. You can control the certain controllables, your attitude, effort, your enthusiasm, stuff like that. But you know, when we get, I said this the other day. Every year I've been a special team coordinator. Knock on wood. We've had the opportunity to win or tie a game on a last-second field goal, right? And all three of those opportunities, we went out and we executed. And it wasn't because I was out there kicking it or I told them some fancy coaching phrase or coach talk. Is because you put them in situations, you apply the pressure, and they go out there and it's just another kick through those uprights, right? Or it's just another catch and a punt. So, you know, as far for depth, you guys will figure out as we get closer to the game and things like that. But we'll start to set that as we get into practices, and it's just like the returners, right? I got a whole bunch of good players. How is that going to play out?
Coach, you know, as Coach Huff mentioned, it's gonna take a lot of things, everything, you know, to get to Mississippi State week 1. And just how do you want to get these guys sharp over the next 30 days to really, you know, bring it at them and just get across the field for Mississippi State?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, number one, hats off Coach Levy and stuff like that. I know several guys on that staff, and they do a heck of a job up there. They're a quality team. I think everybody's always looking to improve until you get to the top, right? And then once you get to the top, the national champion, you got to fight to stay there. So for us, as we go into that, I think the preparation comes with we have to focus on us, right? We're going to do our job at a high level. We're going to go out and we're going to compete. We're going to work to get better every single day, right? And in reality of that, you're consistently developing. Right, and that's, I think Coach probably said it in media days the other day. I think the development of players is a lost art. Everybody wants to go out and go, hey, I'll pay you $500,000 if you're gonna play nickel for me right now. Like, nobody wants to coach guys, right? So it's like, instead of who's the best coach, now it's like who's got the deepest pockets. Sometimes the deepest pockets are the best coaches, but at the same time, it's how do you develop those guys? And so we have this period of time here in August where it's our job to continuously develop them and put them and enable them in a position to succeed at a high level there on August 30th, you know. So there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that these young men will put in here in the next 4 weeks, and it'll lead up, and hopefully all of those things pay off here on
Coach, how much competition, because I know that's the big thing of the special teams, because I know there's some competition drills on offense and on defense. How much do you plan to have competition just to get the guys up and at them?
Yeah, every day, right? Like, and to me, in life, there's winners and losers, right? You either wake up and you win the day or you lose the day, right? Nobody wants to go home and tell their kids, tell their wife, tell their significant other, sit down in a recliner and say, I was a loser today, right? So we will compete every single day. We will set up drills and manufacture, kind of like I was talking about the pressure, is manufacture those competitions. There's a certain order that I put them in order to teach them the fundamentals and what they can use in certain situations and train their response in a game, and then take that trained response and put it in a combative or a competitive isolated drill, and then move into a group and then to a team setting. So to me, there's always going to be some pressure. There's always going to be some manufacturing of competition. I think with competition comes changes of depth charts and where guys are, and then you got to find out who works well together and create some continuity.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Good, appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.